Hello, my name is Hassan Sorrells, and this is the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast shorts. There's no co-host on these shorts episodes. These are now around 2 to 4 minute, sometimes as long as 6 to 10 minute observations, ideas, thoughts, or rants about the literature, philosophy, psychology, and even the theology of leadership. Because listening to me talk about leadership for now around 2 to 4 minutes is still better than reading and trying to understand yet another business book. Even that business book your coworker won't stop raving about because it quote-unquote changed their life, but you can't see any difference in their leadership behavior. So how good could that author be? In the coming decade, on the other side of the current slow-motion apocalypse of American and global culture we are all now experiencing, individuals and teams will still require leadership, but not the type of leadership we have now. Currently in the West, there is a lot of hand-wringing and the throwing around of bromides about the lack of quote-unquote adult leadership in all variety of rooms, from those places where leaders are supposed to be to those places where leaders need to be. Who is an adult is never actually clearly defined, but we inherently recognize an adult leader or a mature one when we see the behaviors of a mature adult. Behaviors like seriousness, accountability, ethical behavior, the ability to take on accountability and ownership, and of course, gravitas. We also know that the opposite of such behaviors and character traits is being demonstrated by people who give themselves titles and positions, and who may even have some gray hairs on their heads, but lack the moral fortitude to take accountability and ownership, or even to do the right thing. We saw a lot of this with COVID. And coming out of that particular historical and cultural moment, people all over the world, not just in America, are looking, seeking, demanding leadership at all levels to start demonstrating the 3 C's: contrition, commitment, and consistency. The people who admit that they were wrong about the policies, procedures, and postures the state took during the most recent crisis. The people who stay on the new path forged by admitting their wrongness of humility that such contrition will put them on, and the ones who remain consistent long into the future on that path will be considered to be adults in whatever crisis situation manifests in the future. And there will always be another crisis situation manifesting in the future. On the other hand, those leaders who defer, deny, and dissemble, those who obfuscate or ask for forgiveness without contrition, will be tossed aside. No matter how many strands of power or money or influence they think they can pull. Adults are returning to the room of the public square, but they won't look or sound like the ones who are currently occupying the public square, nor will they look or sound like the ones who occupied the public square the last time we all looked around and tried to spot the quote-unquote adults in the room. Get ready. And well, that's it for me. Thank you for listening to the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast today. And now that you've made it this far, you should subscribe to the audio version of this show on all the major podcast players, including Apple iTunes, Spotify, YouTube Music, and everywhere else where podcasts are available. There's also a video version of our podcast on our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe to the video version of this podcast on the Leadership Toolbox channel on YouTube. Just search for Leadership Toolbox and hit the subscribe button there on YouTube. And while you're doing that, leave a 5-star review if you like what we're doing here on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. Just go below the player and hit 5 stars. We need those reviews to grow, and it's the easiest way to help grow this show. And tell all your friends, of course, in leadership. By the way, if you don't like what we're doing here, well, you can always listen to another leadership show. There are several other good ones out there. At least that's what I've heard. All right. Well, that's it for me.